Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics and editorials that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper which are relevant from the UPSC prelims and mains examination. Now coming to the first article of the day. So this article is saying that Modi-led panel meets to select next NHRC chief. NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. Okay. Now NHRC is a very important thing because in GS paper 2 there is a syllabus topic called vulnerable sections. Now, NHRC works for the vulnerable sections. Not only that, if people's rights are violated by any institutions of government, now NHRC will take a role. Okay, not everyone has the equal capacity, to question the institutions. Okay, now NHRC plays a role so more to take the cases and guide them in entitling their rights. Okay, this is what NHRC's role. Now we have already discussed this article many a times regarding mains perspective. Now this article mainly this is about appointing the NHRC chairman. Okay. Now we will examine this mainly from Plin's perspective, the appointment process of National Human Rights Commission. Okay. Now Human Rights Commission questions are asking every year. If you see this mains question, though the Human Rights Commission have contributed immensely to the protection of human rights in India, yet they have failed to assert themselves against the mighty and powerful, analyze the structural and practical limitations, suggest remedial measures. Now, these type of questions we have discussed in the previous articles also, but today we mainly see the prelims aspect of appointing process of NHRC. Okay. Now, first and foremost, remember that NHRC is a statutory body. Okay, not a constitutional body. National Human Rights Commission is a statutory body. It was established under the Protection of Human Rights Act of 1993. Okay, remember this point. Now, this was established in conformity with the Paris Principles. Okay, remember, Paris Principles is related to the human rights. Okay, it was adopted for promoting and protecting the human rights. Okay, next important thing is that composition. Now, the commission, the Human Rights Commission consists of a chairperson and 5 full-time members. That means total 6 members. Okay, and 7 deemed members. Now, who are these 7 deemed members? Now, this can be National Commission for Minorities, National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, National Commission for Backward Classes, National Commission for Protection of Children, National Commission for Women, and things like that. National Commission for, this persons with disability. Okay, these are the people because these are considered as the vulnerable sections. Okay, one of the main function is, to control the, violation of human rights of these vulnerable sections also, right? That's why they are deemed members. Now, chairman can be a retired Chief Justice of India or a Supreme Court judge. Now, earlier it used to be said that it has to be only Chief Justice of India, that is retired Chief Justice of India. Now, this act was amended in 2019, this Human Rights Act, and from then it was allowed that Supreme Court judge can also be the chairperson. Okay. Now, appointment and tenure. Now, this is important because presently, the new chairman is appointing. Now, chairman and members were appointed by the president. Remember this point. This is important. They are appointed by the president. Because UPSC asking that who is appointing or things like that. They are twisting the statements. Okay. On the recommendation of a 6-member committee. Remember the members of this committee because UPSC in prelims having previously asking about the committees. Now, this committee consists of a prime minister as heading the committee, and this consists of Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Now, this is a star point, remember, because many people consider that as there is a Speaker of Lok Sabha here, high chances that it is Chairman of Rajya Sabha, but it is wrong statement because it is Deputy Chairman. Remember, you may confuse here. Next, leaders of opposition in both the houses of the parliament. Again, both the houses, okay, and union minister. Oh, these are the 6 members total. Now, the chairman and members hold office for a term of 3 years or until the age of 60, 70 years. Okay. Don't confuse because generally judges are up to 65 years, right? Don't confuse with that here. It has to be 3 years or up till 70 years. Okay. Now here I am saying that, chairperson and 5 full-time members. Okay. Now, other than chairperson, among the 5 full-time members, you know that one has to be the judge of the Supreme Court, right? Another has to be CJA of High Court. Okay. Here it is Supreme Court. Now, among the remaining 3, it can be anyone from who are having experience in human rights and things like that, human rights activists or any NGOs. But it is said that among the 3 members, one person has to be the woman. Okay, this is compulsory and mandatory. Okay, remember this fact. Now, NHRC has a powers of civil court also. Okay, now remember these things from the plaintiff's perspective, and they cannot, take the action against private individuals. Okay, because they are mostly against the state institutions, not private individuals. The jurisdiction is mostly for the state institutions. Known as they cannot take action for anything that is beyond 1 year. Remember these facts from the prelims perspective. Okay, these are the things at least you have to remember from the prelims perspective, especially in the context of appointing NHRC chairman. Okay, now we will discuss next article. Now this article is saying that wildlife experts tag almost blind Ganges River dolphin for the first time in India. Now, why this article is relevant? Ganges River dolphin is a national aquatic animal of India. Okay, it's a national aquatic animal of India. Okay, not only that, UPSC has a habit of asking flora and fauna that was in the news. Now, UPSC has many questions previously. Now, if you see this one of the question, it was asking that which one of the following is the national aquatic animal of India. This is PYQ of UPSC prelims. Now, it is nothing but Gangetic dolphin. Okay, hence this is important. Now, whenever any news item it is mentioned that for the first time in India, this most probably it is important from the examination perspective, especially in competitive exams. Okay. Now, in this article, it is being said that it was tagged by the Ministry of Environment and Forest in association with the Wildlife Institute of India. Now, this tagging was funded by the CAMPA authority. CAMPA. Now, this is one of the statutory institution which is important from the examination perspective, especially prelims. Okay, we will discuss that later. But first of all, why they are tagging, that is important. The context. It is important for whenever they are tagging this dolphin, they will understand the pattern of migration of these dolphins. They can understand and observe, monitor the range, their distribution, their movement, how it is using habitats and all. And overall, this helps in evidence-based conservation. And if there is any issue of knowledge gaps and lack of understanding regarding the Ganges River dolphins, we can observe that through this data that is collected. Okay, these are the main purpose. Okay, now these are the things. Now, from the examination perspective, it is important to know certain facts regarding Ganges River dolphin and CAMPA authority. Okay, before moving further, certain facts mentioned in this article service: 90% of the global population of the dolphin is in India across the rivers of Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and Karnapuli river system. Now, this is the fact. Remember, this was mentioned in this article itself. Okay, India houses 90% of the global population of the dolphin, distributed across the Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and Karnapuli rivers. Okay, now certain facts remember regarding the Ganges river dolphin. Okay, first of all, it is a national aquatic animal of India, and not only that, it is a state aquatic animal of Assam also. Okay, remember. Now, some of the facts are: it can only live in the fresh water and prefer deep water. Okay, now that's why it is being said the preservation and conservation of dolphins will also lead to conservation of river ecosystems. Okay, this is mentioned one. Next, this was essentially blind, and it hunts by emitting the ultrasonic sounds. Okay, this is very interesting thing. They cannot breathe in water. They must surface every 30 to 120 seconds for air. Okay, they have to come outside for few seconds to breathe. They also called susu because of sound they make while breathing. Okay. Now, the other things are they, as I said before, they are distributed in Ganga, Brahmaputra river basins that distributed across the range of states like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Now, presently in India, their distribution region covers 7 states: Assam, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. Now, the protection status is also very important. As per the IUCN Red List, they are considered endangered. As per the sites, they are Appendix 1. They are in Appendix 1. They are considered the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Okay. Another important thing is that a dedicated dolphin sanctuaries were established, such as Vikramshila Sanctuary in Bihar and Hastinapur Sanctuary in UP, which is proposed. Okay. Now, next, there is a Project Dolphin on the lines of Project Tiger also, and National Dolphin Research Center, which is in Asia's first, again, which means important, in Patna University, Bihar. Okay, at least these are the things you have to remember from the examination perspective. Okay, now National Ganga River Dolphin Day is also celebrated often in October 5th. Okay, now another important thing is that that Convention of Migratory Species, right? CMS conference is also used to happen. Now here also there is Gangetic dolphin under the Appendix 1. Okay, these are the things at least you have to remember from the plains perspective regarding Ganges River dolphin. Okay, now we'll learn certain things about the CAMPA Act. Okay, now compensatory forestry management. Now, why this is important? Now, under the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, right? It is being said that if any project that wishes to divert the land, that must identify certain land elsewhere to ensure that for afforestation and pay the land value for the afforestation exercise. Okay, it is nothing but compensating. For example, if any industry is doing deforestation for its industrial activity, it has to compensate by providing some other land and doing some afforestation. Okay, or it has to pay money. Now that is what it. Now this is what called as Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act in 2016. Okay, and rules were notified it. Okay, now this fund, this National Compensatory Afforestation Management Fund, is established on the public account of India, and there is a state fund that is established on the public account of the each state. Okay, now this was enacted to manage the funds that are collected for compensatory afforestation. Now I just said industries or any private agencies, if they are doing deforestation, they will credit this money in this fund. Now who will manage this fund? Now for that this act was established. Okay, now once this fund is allocated into this, now how it will be used? Now that's why as per this act, 90% of these funds will be given to the states. Remember, 90% to the states and the center will get 10%. UPSC may exchange this. Okay, remember, 90% for the states, 10% for the center. Now, how this can be used? Now, these funds can be used for treatment of catchment areas, assisted natural regeneration, forest management, wildlife protection and management, relocation of villages from protected areas, managing human wildlife conflicts, training and awareness generation, supply of wood saving devices, and allied activities. Now, these are the things at least you have to remember regarding the CAMFA. Okay. Now, we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that all 17,130 police stations in the country linked through centralized online platform that is called CCTNS. What is meant by CCTNS? It means Crime and Criminal Tracking Network System. Now, what does that mean? Now, this is an online platform in which all the police stations are, linked to this platform. Now, in this platform, all the FIRs, charge sheets, investigation reports, and any evidences that are collected, any complaints that are filed in the police station will be updated here online, so that if there is any case that is spread over the interstates, for example, if criminals are moving interstate, they can be easily identified. Okay, now this is about CCTVs. Now this CCTVs is very important because this way technology is integrated to the criminal justice system to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the controlling the criminal justice. Okay, now this can be used as an example in the GS paper 2 internal security, where you can use in what are the measures taken by the government to control this. Okay, in GS paper 3 internal security, because these things are important from the tracking the terrorist activities also, because terrorism is a organized crime. Okay, sometimes these organized criminals are also linked to having some cases registered. Okay, in this way we can ascertain or establish the accused person. Okay, another important thing is that having a system like this will fasten the investigation process. In this way it reduces the burden on judiciary, because if there is no proper investigation, this lead to adjournment of cases in the judiciary, right? Now, to prevent such things, a proper and efficient system like this is very important. Okay, in that way this is also important GS paper 2. You can use this as an example in the GS paper 2 governance also, because of the e-governance technology being used in the governance, because overall judiciary controlling the law and order situation is also part of the governance. Okay, in the e-governance system you can use this example. Now, from the examination perspective, remember this is developed under the Ministry of Home Affairs in consultation with the National Crime Record Bureau. Okay, now don't confuse with the NCRB, because NCRB is only a data bank. Okay, mostly it's a data bank that is having about the crimes, but CCTNS is interlinking the agencies, especially police agencies across the country. Okay, for the coordination. Now, what can be the benefit that we can be expected? Now, this article is saying that there is 100% of the 100% deployment is happened about the CCTNS. That means all the police stations in the country now has been integrated. Now, this program was launched in 2009. Okay, remember this was launched in 2009. Okay, now this it is saying that it will helpful in tracking the criminals if they are moving from one state to another state. This can helpful in controlling the organized crimes, because we can establish the links between the people and links between the places. Now this lead to cooperation and coordination between the police officers across the states. Now this is very easy. This is helpful in identification of the criminals, especially because these are having the data of FIRs charge sheeted or charge sheets, investigation reports, so that if they are having any past data about this or past crimes, you can easily identify habitual offenders or serial crimes. If there are any complaints or about unidentified persons or bodies or vehicles, we can easily find them. Now, this CCTNS has data about the past crimes, current crimes, FIRs of the past and present, charge sheets, etc. Now, not only that, now this CCTNS is also having technology in which it can provide analytical reports of the particular crimes. Now you can find the patterns about which of the crimes are mostly repeating. so that accordingly, evidence-based actions we can take in, especially by the police officers or lawmakers. Now, there is another data-related platform, that is National Judicial Data Grid. This is for the judiciary, to track the number of cases that are pending or the status of a particular case, how far it has happened, how much time it has taken. Now, these two can be integrated also in a way. This lead to an evidence-based, criminal adjudication system in India. Okay. Now, this is what the things you have to know from the examination perspective. Okay, try to use this CCTNS and National Judicial Data Grid in GS paper 2 in judiciary, governance, and internal security. Okay, now we will move to the next article. Now, what is this article saying? This article is saying strengthening the roots of an agri-carbon market. Okay, first of all, before discussing about agri-carbon market, first of all, understood what is the carbon market. Now, we have discussed many a times about the carbon market, right? Previously also. Now, carbon market as a term is very important because it was asked previously in the GS paper mains also, right? In 2023 prelims also, it was asking about carbon markets. Okay. Now, why this carbon market is important? Now, carbon market is a mechanism to incentivize the sustainable activities. Now, how to incentivize? There are certain people who are emitting more greenhouse gases. There are certain people who are less emitting less greenhouse gases. Now, these less greenhouse gases emitted people can be incentivized. How? Because by establishing standards. Now, the person who emitted more greenhouse gases will have to buy the carbon credits from the person who emitted less greenhouse gases. In the way, he is paying indirectly carbon tax. Okay. Now, this guy is getting some money as an incentive for reducing the greenhouse gases. Now, this is how carbon markets work. Now, this can be worked at individual level or private sector level, companies level, at the level of government and business also. Right now, generally, that recently in COP29 Azerbaijan conference was happened, right? Now, conference of UNFCCC, where it has been, agreed that a centralized carbon market under the guidance of UNFCCC will be established, to regulate the flow of these carbon credits. Right. Not only that, India also said that it want to establish its own, domestic carbon market, both compliance and voluntary carbon markets also. Now, the author is saying that we need to establish agri-carbon market also. Now, why it is being said like that? Because agriculture is also responsible for emitting greenhouse gases of around 13 to 20%. 13 to 20% of greenhouse gases are coming from the agriculture itself. So, hence, there are chances of reducing greenhouse gases from the agriculture also. Not only that, we have an issue of stagnation of agriculture income. So, we have issue of this low income for the farmers, right? Now we can have a double benefits here by inducing the concept of agri-carbon market. We can increase the incomes of the farmer. How? For example, if any farmers are adopting the sustainable practices. Sustainable practices mean what? It can be organic farming. It can be reducing use of fertilizers. It can be promoting intercropping or zero tillage, micro irrigation, alternative wet and dry farming, or any modern practices of agriculture. We can incentivize the farmers. And not only that, it is being said that farmers are resisting while applying the new type of agriculture practices, especially sustainable practices. Why they are resisting? Because now you may have heard that in the initial years of applying sustainable practices such as organic farming, farming output will be reduced. Now this creates a lot of apprehensions among the farmers' mind. Now to avoid that, we have to incentivize farmers' activities like this so that they will be encouraged and induce their participation for long term. Okay, in this way, this is a win-win situation. That's why it is being said that agri-carbon market should be there. Now, to properly establish this agri-carbon market, we need to ensure that there is a timely payment for the farmers. Otherwise, the farmers don't think that they will get payment. Okay, that's one thing. Now, another important thing is that by encouraging the farmers into this, it leads to inclusive development also, because most of the farmers are small and marginal. That is 80% of the farmers are small and marginal. Most of them are backward classes living in the rural areas. Hence, integrating them and increasing their income like this will lead to both inclusive and sustainable development. Okay. Now, this is what mentioned by the author mostly. Now, try to use this type of inclusive and sustainable development, agri carbon market, and things like that in your mains examination, especially GS paper 3. Okay. Now, previously UPSC asked that which are the following are considered as sustainable activity that reduces the greenhouse gases. Now, zero tillage is one of such thing. That means you are not disturbing the soil, because if you disturb the soil, it releases the carbon dioxide. Okay, things like that. It was asked in the previous prelims also. Okay, remember these things, understand these things. Okay. Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that making affordable generics more reliable. Okay. Now this article is mostly about the generic medicine. Now, health as a topic is very important, especially from the GS paper 2. Okay. Now, generic. What is meant by generic medicines? Now you know that pharmaceuticals once developed, they will get the patent, right? But patented, pharmaceuticals are very costly, so that it is not accessible and affordable to everyone. To ensure that medicines are accessible to everyone, now generics are called bioequivalents. Now, what is meant by bioequivalence? Bioequivalence means these generic medicines have similar formula, but which is not branded. Okay, these unbranded things are, generic medicines. For example, the most, thing that is you may have heard about this paracetamol. Okay, now paracetamol is a generic medicine. It is not a original patented medicine. Okay. Now paracetamol is mostly used by the people because it is a generic one. It is of low cost. Hence it is available to everyone and affordable to everyone. Okay. The patented one is different. Now in this way there are many generic medicines that are available. Now the first and foremost purpose of generic medicine is, it is less cost and address the issues of, health issues, especially the poor and vulnerable sections of the people. Right. Now this article is saying that presently in India there is an issue of, generics, that the original innovative products or patented products and generic products have a gap in terms of its application effectiveness. Now it is been said that generic medicines are less effective, taking more time than the normal medicine in terms of cure. For example, it is been said if it takes around 2 weeks, it is taking 8 weeks, to cure particular, health issue. Now, because of the lack of proper functioning and less efficiency, people are using more doses than compared to what it has to be used. Hence, it lead to antimicrobial, resistance. This is microbial resistance issue. Now, all these things are happening. Now, this also lead to increased use of pharmaceutical. Hence, it also lead to diseases of, kidney damages and increased out-of-pocket expenditure also. Right? Now, generic medicine introduction is the main purpose is to reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure. Right? Now, repeated use of this is also lead to out-of-pocket expenditure. Now, not only this, you know that there is a inefficiency, corruption happening in the pharmaceuticals. Now, doctors and these pharmaceutical agents or druggists are, linked in one way. They are recommending to the particular medicine shop. Okay, and they are over prescribing the medicines. Okay, to ensure that they are selling more, pharmaceutical medicines and things like that. Now, this is one of the issue. No, all these are there. Now, this article saying that we not only ensure that the generics are available at affordable and low cost, we should ensure that there is quality also. Quality of generics. Now, that is what this article is saying. Now, what can be the issues of reducing this quality? Now, this article mentions certain things. It is said that now drugs are regulated in, that it is by the Central Drug Standards Control Organization. Okay, Central Drug Standards Control Organization, CDSCO. Right now, it is only just central level. Okay, whenever it gives certain direction, at the end of that, it has to be implemented by the state drug authorities at the state level. Hence, in India, the issue is that drug regulation is majorly happening at the decentralized level. There is no centralized standards at the national level to ensure that there is, uniformity in the regulation of the standards, especially regarding making of generic drugs. Now it is being said that from the original product or original patented chemical, generic original drug, generic drugs can be differentiated during the process of manufacturing or during the process of experimenting also. Now it is being said that because of lack of centralized guidelines, now different, manufacturers of pharmaceuticals are doing different conditions, different experimental conditions. There is no uniformity. There is differential sizes and differential doses. There is a lack of uniformity in this also. And there is, as I said before, different enforcement of testing. Testing is also conducted at different levels. There is no uniformity in testing for these generic drugs. Hence, because of this, there is not adequate, reliable, quality in generic drugs. Now, this is what this article is saying. Now, this article mentions certain bodies, especially things, because government taken one of the steps is Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. Okay. Now, this is a scheme that enables the people to set up the medical shop near the hospitals. Okay. Now, these are the scheme, and this organization is also mentioned in this article. From the prelims perspective, we will know certain facts regarding that. Now, the first and foremost, this now in India, these drugs are regulated under the, especially these pharmaceutical drugs, are regulated by the Central Drug Standards and Control Organization. Okay. Now, this was established under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Remember this one. Okay. Now, this is a national regulatory authority of India for medical devices also. For example, any medical device is, getting permission or not, it is also, given by this organization. Now, this is as per the drugs and cosmetics. Now, this works under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now, this is very important to remember. Okay. Now, this organization is headed by the Drug Controller General of India, DCGA. You may have heard about this. Now, this was headquartered in New Delhi. Okay. Now, as per this act, it is responsible for certain functions. Now, it approval of new drugs, conduct of clinical trials, laying down the standards for the drugs. As I said before, though it may lay down, but it is ultimately depend on the state organizations. Okay. Control over the quality of imported drugs, coordination of activities of state drug control organizations. Now, these are the functions. So, remember this thing. It's about ministry. Who is heading this? Now, EPS may give that it is the Minister of Health and Family Welfare heading this CDSSCO. Now, this is a wrong statement. It is headed by the Drug Control General of India. Okay, headquartered New Delhi, Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Okay. Now, next, Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Kendras. Now, remember this scheme. Now, this was set up. These Kendras are set up under the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. Now, this is a scheme. Now, this is a scheme to ensure that there is availability of generic medicines to the people in at all the places, right? This was launched by the Department of Pharmaceuticals under the Ministry of Chemicals. Now, many people think that just because of it is having this, you know, it is delivering the generic medicine at all affordable prices, they think that it is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. No, it is wrong because it is comes under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Okay. Now, what is the objective of the scheme? This has to provide quality medicines at affordable prices, particularly the poor, so that it reduces the out-of-pocket expenditure. Now, these provide drugs which are available at lesser prices, equivalent in quality and efficacy of expensive branded drugs. Now, this is very important thing you have to know. Now, this is where the issue of present day article. Now, this article also saying that the efficacy and quality is in affected. Now, this is what this article is saying today. Okay. Now, what are the other things? All the therapeutic, medicines are made available from this Janaushadhi stores. They are also selling allied medical products so that to improve the viability of running the stores. Okay. Now this Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices Bureau of India is there. Now this is just an autonomous body. Now this body is coordinating the procurement, supply and marketing of generic drugs through these kendras. Okay. Now these are the things you have to remember from the examination perspective. Okay. I hope you like this video. That's all for today. Thank you.